Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 247 DIY. Today we're going to be jumping back into some work on the WRX. As I explained in a previous video, I'm a little bit behind on getting you guys updated on everything that happened with the WRX this summer. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't too crazy, but there's 2 or 3 episodes worth of footage that I filmed and I'm trying to get out. So this one's going to be kind of quick, and it's going to be filmed a little bit differently because this video is going to be a whole bunch of smaller little things that I did to the car that we're going to go into other videos, you know, just kind of as a side note, like, hey, I did this, you know, while I was filming a bigger project. But the more I looked back, now that I have all this backlog of footage, I realized that there was enough content here to make one episode all to itself. So keep in mind, there's nothing groundbreaking here with this episode. It's mainly just to get you guys caught up with what's going on with the WRX. So one of the things I was doing while I was doing a lot of the prep work to try to get this ready to go back on the road was I was replacing some of the factory bulbs with LED bulbs. Some of them needed to be replaced because they were blown out, and then other ones I just wanted to get replaced because I wanted that more sort of modern look with the whiter looking LED bulbs. So that's what we got going on today. We've got just replacing out the factory bulbs with LED bulbs, replacing out the high beams with LED high beams, as well as diagnosing and fixing some issues that I had with the HID system. So like I said, nothing groundbreaking here. There's a lot of voiceover because when I went back and looked at the footage, because each part that I had filmed was meant to be just a small part, when you put them all together, it kind of dragged and it was pretty boring because I was going into just a little bit too much. So I've deleted a lot of the audio and I've thrown some voiceover in just to keep the pace up a little bit, but that's what we're jumping into, so let's get into it. Alright guys, so I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, but I kind of went ahead and got a lot more of the detailing done. One of the big things is, and I don't know if it showed up before on camera, but the headlights were really kind of yellowed and nasty looking. And one product that I've been using for years that works really good is this Novus plastic restore. It's a 3-part kit, but it works really good. I've used it on various vehicles, lots of headlights. You don't even really need any special tools. I just use some cloths and just, elbow grease with this. The first one you use gets all the heavy scratches out. You move on to the second one to really kind of polish and remove, the fine scratches. And then the last one is just a clean and a shine. And if it does show up on camera, the lights look vastly better than they did before. The yellowing's gone and the blemishes are gone and they look real nice now. And then we jumped right in with the LED 194s. I started here, I threw a couple in the marker light portions of the headlights here. You can see on the left the stock halogen bulb versus on the right the LED 194 bulb. Which with the headlights on here, I think you can see looks a lot better versus, on the left-hand side you get that mixed match of colors, and then on the right-hand side you get the blue HID with the bluish-white LED. And then we moved on with upgrading a lot of the bulbs to LED-style bulbs. You can see there on the right, I ordered a set of 9007 LED bulbs for the high beams. It's actually the wrong bulb. I'll get to that in a minute, but you can see here I have some LED 194s. For a lot of the accessory lighting, as well as some of these 3175s for the dome light and the map lights. So I started here in the back replacing the license plate lights. Oddly enough, I thought both of them were blown until I replaced them and they still didn't come on. It turns out somewhere along the line the harness for the license plate lights actually came undone and had fallen back behind the bumper, but once I found that and fished the harness out and got it plugged back in, we had these lights operational again. And then we just moved up and threw an LED bulb here in the trunk. And then moved on to the auto dimming mirror. Just a couple of 194s here up inside. You can see here's the light output from just the standard 194s before. And then the look of the LEDs after. And then we moved on to replacing the 3157s in the dome light. And there you go. That's the look afterwards. A lot brighter, and honestly, I like it a lot better. And here we have the map lights. I kind of forgot about these, but had some extra of the dome light bulbs laying around, so we went and got those replaced as well, and they are also a lot nicer. So then we got into the high beams. These are the stock bulbs you can see here in the high beam, and honestly, they just weren't cutting it. I do a lot of driving at nighttime, and especially when you get on back roads, highways and such, they really just don't illuminate much. They're honestly terrible. So I wanted to get something brighter in there just to have a little bit better vision on the road. So let's go ahead and get into what I had to go through to get those replaced. So as I said before, I ended up ordering the wrong bulbs. These here are a 9007. I had ordered these because I quite honestly had forgotten that this car is supposed to come with the USDM lights, and that is a dual filament 9007. However, the JDM lights utilize a different bulb. Here you can see the 9005. This is the bulb I needed, and basically what happened is in the JDM lights, you don't have that dual filament high-low 9007. You have a 9005 here for the high beam, and depending on whether or not you have just a standard housing, or if you have an HID housing, you're either going to have an H1 or you're going to have a DS3 bulb for your low beam. So my mistake on that, once I got it figured out, we went and ordered these 9005s and proceeded to get those installed. So I got the driver's side in, and there was no fitment issues there whatsoever, but you can see the size of the cooler here on the LED bulbs, and that was interfering here on the passenger side with this little piece of bracket metal here. Afterwards, I figured, I'm pretty sure this is just for the factory hood prop, which I don't utilize on this. I have got the gas struts installed instead. So I popped the grommet out, and I went about cutting some clearance here for the LED bulb. And I know it's not pretty. It's kind of an awkward area to get into. The camera makes it look like there's a lot more room here than there is, but I'm not too terribly worried about this kind of ugly cut, just because no one's really going to see it when you're standing in front of the car. If you're looking in the engine bay, it's just not apparent at all. It's hidden, so it's just going to have to do. It was the easiest way just to get that metal out of there so that we could get the bulb in. And here's the difference between the two bulbs. I realize here in the shop with all the lights on, it's a little hard to judge exactly the difference here, but I can say to my eye, these are going to be a lot better than the factory bulbs. And lastly, I ordered up some of these turn signal bulbs that are chrome when they're not illuminated, but light up amber when they're on. You can see here through the headlight housing that with the standard bulbs, there's a lot of amber that shows through there, and it's just personal preference, but honestly, I wanted more of a cleared out, blacked out look for the headlight. So if we go ahead and move over here to the driver's side, I already have one of these installed, and you can see that it pretty much completely eliminates that amber look that you can see there, and just gives you more of a clear and black scheme to the headlight without the amber bulb in there. This was just a little bit of a test fit. I did see a couple of the reviews on these bulbs. People said that they weren't as bright, but to my eye, there's almost no difference. I don't think it should be a problem at all, but you can see here, no amber over here, as opposed to the way it looks from the factory. And one last thing that I need to do here that was a result of trying to get this inspected the other day. This HID ballast ended up dying on me. So you can see I've got the new one hooked up here. What I had done was I swapped over the one from that side, moved it over here, verified it worked. I was able to find a set on eBay actually for very cheap considering what a lot of people were selling them for. They seemed to work great. I was a little skeptical at first. But we need to get this old one off of here because I stuck it down with double-sided tape, mount up the new one, and remount the other one on the other side. I'm going to run a new one on that side too, just to be safe. I'll just keep that one as a backup. Alright guys, and it's actually been a few days now. I started having problems again with the HID system, even after we replaced that ballast out. It only helped for 2 or 3 days, and I started having issues again where this HID just would not fire. So at that point I thought it was an igniter problem, so I bought another igniter, threw that on there, didn't make a difference. Just in case that wasn't the solution, I grabbed the igniter from this side, plugged it in over here. Still didn't light, so I thought maybe it's the bulb. Grabbed the bulb from that side over here, still wouldn't ignite, and that's when I remembered that there are 2 relays for the HID system up here in the engine bay. So I've taken this apart, and I've pulled both relays out of the holder. This relay you can plug into either connector, and it will light up both HIDs. This relay, however, you can plug in both sides and neither HID will light up. So something went wrong with this relay. I haven't heard too many instances where relays fail, but I guess it can be a problem. So I went ahead, I jumped on Amazon, and I purchased a couple more 40 amp 4-pin relays. I've already gone ahead and tested it out on the vehicle, and both HIDs light up now. So clearly there was a problem, just had a failed relay here. So all we need to do is just remove these mounting tabs that came on these relays. And once those tabs are removed, we can go ahead and pop them back into place in this holder here. So I just use an angle grinder to cut those tabs off and then smooth out the finish a little bit with the belt sander. And there you go, guys. So now that that relay is replaced, both HIDs come on and off reliably. Every time the headlights are turned on and off, there's no issues where one fires or one doesn't. And it was always that driver's side. I never had problems here on the passenger side, so that leads me to believe it was just the relay the entire time. The reason why switching the ballast may have worked is the relay may have just been failing, and at that point it started to work again. But then shortly after replacing the ballast, it failed completely and that HID just wouldn't fire anymore. So I'm glad that this is fixed. It's very annoying to have problems in the car where something's not unreliable, especially when you can't trace down what it is. So I'm super happy now that the HIDs are fixed. Like I said, they come on reliably every time now. They turn off, turn back on, no issues. Hopefully these relays last a bit longer than the original ones did. So with all that done, I'm a lot more pleased with the lighting setup on the car. Like I said, I just like the more modern look of the LED lights. Having those new LED high beams in there is going to be a huge improvement driving at night. Like I said earlier in the video, the factory high beam bulbs just were useless. And I don't know if that's just because it's old technology and lighting has come a long way on vehicles, or if it's because this USDM WRX has been upgraded to the JDM lights. And there's some splicing with the wiring harness that has to go on because it was used to a dual filament 9007, and the harness has to be spliced a little bit and some reworking done to run the 9005 bulbs with the projectors in these JDM headlights. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Either way, I can see a lot better now at night with the high beams. And the problem with the HIDs was an ongoing problem even back 6 years ago before I ended up taking the car off the road for a while. So I'm really glad now that both of the HIDs fire up properly. It's really annoying when you got to turn the lights on and off, on and off, on and off a whole bunch of different times just to get both headlights to come back on. So that's all sorted. So I hope you guys like the small update here. We've got a larger video that I'm starting to edit now. It's actually a video that's going to be broken up into 3 separate videos, not necessarily 3 separate parts, but just 3 separate videos because of what the whole project entailed. So keep an eye out for that. As always, guys, if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button. Feel free to leave a comment below, and if you're not subscribed already, please go ahead and subscribe. Thanks.